Welcome to Candid Conversations with Kathy. My name is Kathy McSherry, and I'm so excited to dive into today's conversation. Welcome, everybody, to another podcast with Kathy McSherry, Candid Conversations with Kathy. And today I am so excited to talk to my BFF, my best friend from, I'm going to say 48 years we've been friends. So people can do the math. We met in 6th or 7th grade.
Seventh grade.
Seventh grade.
Middle of 7th grade.
Yes, and that would be the most formative years because all through middle school, high school, we went to different colleges. Then I joined Michele at the Fashion Institute in New York City, and basically fast forward, here we are today. But one of the reasons I thought this would be a great podcast is because Michele is also in real estate with her partner, Sherrie Natko, and they work for Coldwell Banker in New Jersey. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the differences in real estate, not just East Coast, West Coast, but by state. There's the process of a transaction is different. They use different people, things like that. Selling real estate, buying real estate, the same, but the process. Before I get into that though, Michele and Sherrie, just tell me a little bit about how you guys met and why you chose real estate as your profession.
All right, do you want me to? I'll start, Sherrie.
Michele, you go first.
So Sherrie and I met when our girls were 18 months old. It was called Gymboree. Remember, Sherrie? It was Gymboree, and we stayed in touch. And Sherrie got into real estate, I think, 20 years ago.
Like 2001, yeah, something like 21
years ago.
I'm legal now.
Yeah, and we've been friends, and we had lunch one day, and she knew I was in sales for years in the garment center, and she's like, I need help. But I'm like, I would love to do real estate. I can sell and I can merchandise and I could stage, and like Sherrie stages, we stage all our own listings. And Sherrie's like, well, I can't help, you need to get your license. And then go ahead, Sherrie. And then the rest is
Michele was born ready, as we all know. Okay.
And so we clicked, and I really wouldn't get into business with anybody else but Sherrie. So, and we're calling.
How many years have you guys been at, oh, sorry, there's a time delay. We're Zooming for all those of you listening because we're on separate coasts. Okay. How many years have you guys been partners in real estate?
Years?
Almost
7 years?
Almost 7, because I was doing this since 2001. And then the business changed enough, and I got my broker's license, and I thought there's no one I would really want to work with me, but Michele would be perfect. So I think it was almost 7 years that we've been doing this. I cannot imagine, honestly, Kathy doing this myself anymore. There's no way.
You don't have to sell my Michele on me because
I love you guys.
Sherrie's.
We could talk all day about that. I wanted to, in regards to real estate, when I say the process is different, I have to say I've been licensed since 2000 myself. So I've been in the business for over 20 years. And I had no idea, because I've been licensed in Nevada and California, that the process is different by state. I know that you have to get licensed in each state, but I didn't understand when Michele would talk to me about having a real estate attorney. I'm like, an attorney? Why would you need an attorney? So one thing I just wanted for anybody listening, that's important to know that the process itself differs by state. But since you're in Jersey and on the East Coast, what does a real estate attorney do or bring to the transaction?
Well,
Sherrie or Michele?
Go ahead, Sherrie. You want to start?
Michele, you can speak to that.
Go ahead.
Not a lot. No.
Well, they do. We work with the attorneys. They pick once we receive a fully executed contract, it goes now the buyer or the seller, they do not have to have an attorney. They do not.
It's their choice.
It's their choice.
But the buyer or the seller?
They both pick their own attorneys.
Oh, they have to have separate attorneys.
They don't
Yes,
have
they
to.
do. They don't have to, but it's better that they do, because
What's the liability if I choose to go into a transaction? I'm buying a home and I say, no, I don't want to have an attorney. I'll just do my own paperwork.
Good luck with that.
yeah,
Right?
because
Because contracts are complicated.
Well, you know
Right.
what, it's very challenging because every state is different. Michelle and I were talking about this the other day. My brother's an attorney and he works as a realtor as well as an attorney in Pennsylvania. They don't use attorneys. But for us, you know, although Michelle and I do the bulk of the management until we get to the fully executed contract, once it's fully executed, it's out of our hands, which for us is a huge relief because
it
the
is.
attorney who's charging a flat fee, which is not nearly enough for the number of hours that people waste their time, a flat fee to navigate the transaction. And, you know, of course, we have to pitch in. The woman that we recommend sometimes has us as her paralegal. She doesn't have a scanner that day or whatever.
Right. But it's, you know, it just, they prepare legal documents. They know the laws. So,
Right, so here we use escrow, right? That's a neutral third-party account that handles both sides of transactions, and they execute the contract based on, you know, what it says. So, you know, if I write in that it closes in 30 days, that they make sure all that's done. But they're neutral because they hold all the monies and they do it for both parties. So
Well,
who holds the deposits and the monies?
the attorney does. One of
So they're
them.
kind of
Usually
like
it's the
escrow.
buyer's attorney that holds the money, the deposits.
Yeah.
And
And you
they're also, pardon me? Go
No, go
ahead.
ahead.
And they're in contact with the title company. They also, once we have an inspection, they get together with the buyer or the seller on both sides, on either party.
Oh, and negotiate
represents
repair.
them, and they negotiate the repairs.
That's
They
what
write it
I
up.
found different because in California, the agent negotiates the repairs.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that happens in a lot of states. The onus is off of us, even though we still are involved. And because we use a certain couple of people, particularly one individual, we're kind of in the loop all the time. But as soon as we have the fully executed contract, we really don't have to deal with anything.
And
We
you
can-
don't pay for it.
Well, they
What
pay
about-
for it, but again, it's a
They
flat
pay
fee.
for
If you were charging her, if the hours she spends with people, I can't imagine spending like $1,700 or $1,900 for a transaction when she's actually billable hour wise. She would be making so much more money, but she enjoys it. But she kind of keeps the deal together. And oftentimes, if the other attorney is someone she knows, it helps because they've
Right.
worked together before.
And the bottom line is everybody wants to get to the closing. So
Right.
everybody wants to close. And it's also nice to have the attorney because during a walkthrough, if something goes wrong, if there's a leak in the pipe or, you know, anything can go until
Right.
the bitter end. You know, the toilet was working the day before and then all of a sudden you're flushing it. And this has happened to us, right, Sherrie? It's happened to us where you flush the toilet during the walkthrough and it starts leaking. So then you call the attorney and they work together. The attorney, we all have the best interest in our clients, but they also legally either hold money, they work it out together. So
I think for me, it was enlightening because if I was ever to refer somebody, they were moving to the East Coast, I would want, expectations, right? I would want one of you to say, listen, we do it differently here in Jersey or New York than in California. And this is how the process goes. Because I was on the other end of a transaction once and somebody had bought property in Colorado. And for whatever reason, when we closed here, she thought they paid her right out at the table. And I said, no, they got to close the funds and do X, Y, Z. And her expectation went down the toilet, and she related the entire transaction to closing, which we did everything by law and normal practice, but she was expecting something, a different result, because she had purchased real estate in Colorado. So it was an eye opener for me to investigate when I'm going to send somebody to another state, even another county. People do things differently. To just explain the process, because I felt like
If I were to go to another state and they don't really use attorneys, I'm buying a big purchase. It's a big
Right.
purchase. I would want a real estate attorney, not an attorney, right? It
Not a
has to
regular
be real
attorney.
estate, because these regular attorneys, they're great with whatever they do, but you have to hire a real estate attorney because they know the ins and the outs of the
Yes,
law.
but not in California, not in states when you don't use them, because we don't, it would be weird to hire an attorney. It's not used. It's an escrow
You know
company.
what, but the thing is, like,
Normal.
things are different in every state. Remember, Michelle, we had that couple coming from Chicago, and it's very backwards. It's backwards a little bit in New Jersey, where you do the inspection after you get the house, then you do the inspection, and then you decide if you still want it. As opposed to Connecticut, New York, most other reasonable states where you do the inspection first, you drive a car before you buy it, you look at the house before you buy it. Well, no, you don't inspect it until after you've already secured it, and you might
That's
not
true
like it
too.
anymore. It's backward, and we have to manage that, Michelle and I, every time someone's coming from a place where it's done the way that seems to make more sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The
It's crazy.
inspection report goes to us, but it also goes to the attorney. And we all discuss it. We discuss, but really we wait for the attorney's report. The attorney writes it up and we wait for the report, and we go to our client and we're like, okay, this is not reasonable. Like some
You're
of
not
the
the negotiator.
the
The
attorney
attorney
we
is.
help negotiate. We work together as a team with the attorney. It's not just them and us, and we're constantly on the phone with the attorney. We're constantly on the phone with our clients, the buyer or the seller, depending on which side we're on.
Got it.
So, and we're all together.
So we can all, my whole takeaway was things are different per state, educate your client to make them aware so they don't fall short on their expectations at the end. I just was wondering if you guys had experienced it, and kind of sounds like you had a similar situation. But I want to tell you, oh no, go ahead.
As a real estate professional, I think your whole life is managing expectations.
Exactly.
That is
It's all
true.
about.
And that's in every profession.
This is what in any job, it's not just real estate, but a lot of people don't do that. So they're surprised. You don't want surprises throughout the transaction. There are enough stresses as it goes,
Exactly. That's my point.
Hey, sorry to interrupt our conversation. I just want to take a minute in case anybody has any real estate questions or concerns. Please reach out to me at Kathy@KathyMcSherry.com or my website, KathyMcSherry.com. I'd be happy to help. Now, let's get back to our conversation.
Okay. So Michele and Sherrie, as you know, we all know, the world knows, the interest rates, they've climbed 4%, 4 points since, points, not percent, since last year. And of course, I'm feeling a pause over here in California and on the West Coast. Pricing is coming down just a little bit, and affordability, people can't, it's knocking the first time home buyer out. So
Yes.
I'm going to say that it's still per area, because the homes on the water, ocean views, they never really lose their value, maybe a little bit, maybe days on market's a little longer. But what are you guys seeing on the East Coast?
I think it's parallel to the West Coast. It's both ends of the country are very desirable, and there's limited inventory. So even though there may be a little bit people who are first-time buyers and might be taking a pause, as you said, because of the interest rates, there are much more affordable properties that will be coming on, I think, going forward. But currently, if there's no inventory, it drives the price up, even if the house doesn't warrant that.
Right. We're only, just for the listeners, we're only an hour from Manhattan. So we're still desirable.
Right.
But like you both said, it's also the first time home buyers. It's affecting them. And days on market is a little bit longer. There's still no inventory, and that is challenging. It's still challenging. The seller, especially if they're a downsizer, they still don't have anywhere to go.
Right, the replacement property, because even if they want to sell, now they don't have anywhere to go. So it's a trickle down effect.
Right.
I've seen the same thing as well. What is either Coldwell Banker or your team or your company, what are they seeing as a forecast in the future? Are they talking about it?
You can't really, I mean, we're hoping, I mean, I shouldn't say hoping, right? It's not hoping.
Well, do you think a recession's coming? And if the recession comes coupled with the high interest rates, what do you think the housing market's going to do on the East Coast?
You know what, I think that's very cyclical, to be honest. In 2001, when I started, interest rates were 10-ish. So I guess it's relative. It's always a cyclical situation. So the rates are going to go up, they're going to go down. It's just the nature of anything else in our world. But if people can afford it, and many of our buyers and sellers are very fortunate because people offer to pay cash. They say, well, forget the interest rates, I'm just going to buy this for cash.
Yeah, are you seeing a return of the investor, the cash deal? No?
During COVID, we did.
We saw a lot of those. And we are getting to open houses. Before, we never got to an open house. It just,
it was gone.
It was gone. Now we are seeing it's on the market for at least 2 weeks.
That's still quick.
It's still, because before COVID, that
wasn't even on the market.
Yeah, I mean, that was good.
30 was a norm.
Kathy, most of our listings during COVID, especially the initial few months, we didn't even put them on the market, or people were waiting in line for them and paying way over the assessed value, way over the value that we
during COVID, really? Because we just had big restrictions in California for showings, but I'd say last year more than 2 years ago was our frenzy time, where they hit the market, but you had multiple offers. So, I mean, if you could do a pocket listing, but then California changed, the MLS changed some of its rules for it because they wanted to get away from pocket listings. They wanted to make it fair for everybody.
Pocket listings, but
well, not even hitting the market. If you sell it in your office or to somebody you know, they looked down upon it. They wanted it.
It's not.
Oh, we looked down upon it too. I mean, that's just not,
it was just the fact that there was no inventory and people were so desperate. We would have the house on the market on a Wednesday with our office, and we were ready to activate it on Friday. And they would call us and say, you know what, girls, we don't even want to put it on because we have 4 offers right now. We don't want people in our house.
I know. It was crazy. Yeah, they didn't want people in the house because they didn't want potential germs or spreading. I know. But I'm seeing, like you, people are doing open houses. I mean, in my neighborhood in Mission Valley, San Diego, I didn't see any open house signs for, like you said, maybe a couple years. And now on the weekends, I'll see some signs back out again.
And we've also seen, depending on the house, price repositioning. So, which there wasn't that much during the height of COVID, obviously. But I think, some of the sellers can be a little like, they want a little more. And before it's like, okay, well, what do you want? And let's list it.
Okay.
Well, in this kind of turnaround, the sellers, some people think because their neighbor 6 months ago got XYZ,
yes,
and they don't want to come down. But
and it also depends on what it looks like. I mean,
exactly.
The buyer is very savvy. So they know what's out there, and it depends. Is it move-in ready? Is it a disaster? Is it priced to be move-in ready? Is it priced that it needs work? So that's, it's.
But Kathy can appreciate this. Back in the day, people actually listened to us and said, oh yeah, advise me, share with me. What do I do? Now, as Michelle and I are experiencing, whatever we say, it doesn't matter because they know more than we do.
Yeah, I know. But and what's sad is I've seen this play where they lose money, or they go with the agent that gives them what they want to hear, and then that's that. And then you watch that sale sit on the market, and then price reduction, and you've just alienated your true buyer. So it's for anybody listening, it's very important to hire people that are going to explain the transaction, that are going to be honest with you, right? We all don't like to hear some things, but I'd rather have honesty than lose money and
Right.
traction by going in at the wrong price. Well, I've got to say, it's been fabulous talking to both of you.
Yes.
Currently, how's your business right now? Are you busy?
And-
Are you waiting for more inventory? Did the holidays affect it at all?
Well, there's no inventory, so, and it's still a challenge to help our buyers find what they want, and it's also a challenge to get those sellers to move somewhere else, right, Sherrie? Wouldn't you
Well,
say?
the people who bought their houses in the 80s and early 90s spent 200. Now the house is worth 1.2, but they don't know where they're going.
They don't have anywhere to go.
And they pay
Unless they have a beach
mortgage.
house.
Where are they going to go? Spend $3,000 for a 2-bedroom? But remember, where you are and where we are, the prices are extremely high. It's like Manhattan, and if people can afford it, great. Honestly, it's a very tough thing for people who want to move, but they don't know where they're going. And if they don't know where they're going, then they don't want to sell. So that's really the juxtaposition, because we have people who want to go somewhere, but where are they going to go? And they have no mortgage. Now they're going to have to spend all this money, and they freak out.
Are millennials a big demographic for you? Are they out there buying, or are they waiting right now?
We told them to wait, most of them, didn't we, Michelle?
Some of them wait, but some of them don't. I mean, they can't. They're a huge demographic for us. And we also have the downsizers that who had somewhere to go. We have those too. We have people that want to live near family, whether they're coming here or moving out.
Right. Life, we have those. Life doesn't stop. You know, when people talk about the market, even going forward, I say the same thing, because I happen to farm where I live in my area and people know me, and they're still going to get divorced. They're still going to have familial status change, whether it's a marriage or a death, God forbid, or something crazy, a job reload. And as life goes on, you find yourself, you know, having to move. And that part is safe for me, but people getting in and out of the business, this is probably not the time, because it's tough if you don't have a clientele already. You know, Sherrie, you've been in the business for 27 years.
People who joined right before COVID think that it's so easy to do real estate. They
Right.
haven't been in the places where, even Michelle and I, when we were together, there's always pitfalls. And right now, between now and the end of the year is kind of our downtime. So we're trying to come up with things to, you know, get our business ready for the spring. But it's time to, you know, it's a time to kind of regroup and reevaluate. But it's all about connections, and the people who started, who were new, who didn't have any.
Yes, that's hard.
Any connections. They didn't have, I mean, I made all my connections. My kids were 2.5 and 5. You know, they're 24 and 28, 27.
Right.
That was just my niche. So all those people, and Michelle also had a lot of friends during that time. So a lot of our business in the past 3 years is the people we knew for how many years, Michelle? 25 to 30 years. You're saying, oh, I'm going to go to my beach house and make it bigger. I'm going to go buy an apartment in Manhattan, and then I'll build a beach house later. So we were fortunate to be able to represent those individuals as sellers during COVID, where they were just capitalizing on the market, and we look like heroes.
Right.
But people who had kids, like our clients who bought a house before they had a baby, they were very fortunate to get what they got. But on balance, we told people, just please wait, because I wouldn't want my kids looking now. Even, you know, during COVID, even now, they wouldn't want to be looking. Gabrielle and her fiance, they're not going to want to buy something right now. It's ridiculous. They should just rent.
Well,
you know?
they're not going to get what they want right now, but I have to say, I'm a big believer that you got to be in the game. So if you were looking at 600, maybe you have to look at 5. But to get a 2-bedroom and not the 3-bedroom, I don't know what it is, but I still think, you know, my first house.
If you have that money, if you have that deposit and you have the money, then you should definitely buy. But if you can, then
Right.
you have
Keep
to rent.
saving. Exactly.
Or you move home and save your money.
Pardon me?
That too.
Or you move home and you
Well,
save your
yeah.
money.
At any age that can happen, right?
Correct.
So any words that you guys would like to sum up? It's been so great. Seeing you, Michelle, talking to you again, Sherrie. If I have any clients that are going to move to the East Coast, you guys are my go-to. I know you would take great care of them.
Yes.
And we will
good
manage their
contract.
expectations.
Yes, managing expectations. But all in
Yes.
all, holiday season does tend to be slow. I'm experiencing the same thing myself, but it gives me the time, like you said, to regroup, organize, and get marketing ready for the new
Organize,
year.
exactly. And just stay in contact with the people that you know.
It is
Any
an opportunity
plans
to
for
reach
either
out.
of you with the holidays? Well, of course, we're going to stay in contact, but any plans for the holidays for either of you? Going away, trips, anything?
No, just staying here and hosting. That's it.
Well, then you can speak for yourself. I can't cook. I don't host.
Okay.
I just show up. Just show up. Okay, here's some wine, whatever. I can't cook, I can't sew. It's all good. But you know what? Michelle and I have really built a business where we're a little more discerning than we used to be. And sometimes it's to our chagrin that we don't get a listing because we say no to the person. But you know what? You have to have self-respect now.
Oh, absolutely. But I had to learn that myself. And that just comes with maturity and knowing who you are and what you can offer,
Well,
and taking care of yourself.
well, it's true because it goes both ways. They're interviewing you and you're interviewing them.
Correct.
So it goes both ways. Is it a fit? So
Yeah.
they're looking at you, can we work with this person? And we also look at them, and it's all about also trust and respect.
Exactly.
It's like dating.
It's like dating.
It's like dating. That's a good one. That would
When
be
you
a
get
whole
to a
other
certain age, though,
podcast.
it's not, you know who you're not going to fit with. We had a lot of opportunity, and we kind of messed it up because we said, you know what, I don't want to work with them, and it's obviously money out of our pocket, but at a certain
No,
point in your
it's
life, you're like, you
peace
need to
of
have your
mind. You can't
self-respect.
put a price on that. Yeah.
Correct.
And also, sometimes I've had a transaction where it didn't look favorably upon me either. Like you enter
Well,
something.
it has your name on it. That's exactly it.
Yeah. And it's just not worth the headache. But thank you both so much. I hope you both have a great holiday season.
Thank you. And I hope you do too.
Yes. And we will have to regroup next spring and see where the market has taken all of us. How about that?
I think it's going to be fabulous.
I love your energy.
Put it this way, Kathy, it's always unbelievable.
Yeah, no, right?
Every day it's a different story.
It's always unbelievable. It could be unbelievably good, unbelievably bad. It's always
Well,
unbelievable.
Sherrie,
No one would ever understand what we do.
I'm her bestie on the Westie. You can be her Sherrie over there in Jersey. I'm the McSherry over here on the
We
West.
established that. It's very clear. No problem.
Oh, okay. Thank you both so much. Let's talk
All
again
right.
soon. Happy holidays.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Candid Conversations with Kathy, and I so look forward to speaking to all of you next week. Thanks again. Have a great day.